Hi there, good evening and welcome to this special broadcast on Republic TV. Looking forward is about stories that are shaping up over the coming week. News that is developing and would have consequences for your life, impact our choices. Stories that shape India's politics, geopolitics and geoeconomics going forward. Tonight, I bring to you 4 stories and possibly 5 in the long-form format, going deep into the developments that would pan out over the coming week. Story number 1. It's going to be an Indian in space after a gap of 41 years. After Rakesh Sharma in 1984 hummed Sare Jahan Se Acha Hindustan Hamara, from space, Shubhanshu Shukla of the Indian Air Force, test pilot, is all set to land at the International Space Station on June 10. We give you a lowdown. Story number 2. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is all set to participate in the G7 summit in Canada this coming weekend. As the world's 4th largest economy, soon going to be the 3rd largest, is India the unavoidable power on the high table of global geopolitics and geoeconomics? You would get all details. Then story number 3. The Modi government has announced the much-awaited census, which is slated to take place over the coming 2 years, beginning October 2026. The BJP has also bid in the caste census bait of Rahul Gandhi and the Congress. What are the implications of this biggest headcount exercise in the world on our politics and governance going forward? And then story number 4. Satellite telephony is all set to make an entry into India, with the government permitting Elon Musk-owned Starlink to set shop and start services. While great in covering the far and deep uncovered areas over the hills and valleys and forests, there's a clear security angle to satellite-based internet and telephony. Find all aspects in our focus as we look forward. First up, the headlines. Space countdown to Axiom-4 launch. IAF pilot and astronaut Shubhanshu Shukla to pilot Axiom-4 mission on June 10 to become the first Indian to join the International Space Station. Group Captain Shukla to become the 2nd Indian to enter space after Rakesh Sharma's historic mission in 1984. Axiom-4 to launch on June 10th at around 5:52 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Amit Shah takes on the Stalin government while in Tamil Nadu. Home Minister holds mega rally in Madurai and directly takes on Chief Minister M.K. Stalin. Shah, who earlier in the day visited the Meenakshi Ammam temple, exuded confidence that the DMK would be ousted in the 2026 polls by the NDA. Concurring with CM Stalin, the Home Minister said, "It is true, Amit Shah cannot defeat the DMK, but the people of Tamil Nadu will." And is Rahul foreshadowing Bihar results after Rahul Gandhi once again raises doubts on the Election Commission of India on the Maharashtra election results? BJP ups the ante on his claims. Rahul questioned on not raising the query with appropriate facts with the ECI despite the fact checks. The BJP also asks, is Rahul deliberately confusing the people as he knows he will lose the Bihar elections? And updates on Bengaluru stampede. Cops warning ignored, is it? New letter emerges of Bengaluru Police DCP warning the administration of overwhelming number of crowds expected at the Vidhan Sauda for the RCB felicitation event. Critical details like lack of police officers, lack of CCTV cameras and lack of time from preparations were already raised with the Karnataka government. Was Bengaluru Police's explicit warning ignored by the administration? If yes, who's responsible? And the police that never gave the permission, or the administration that ignored all letters? And it seems Manipur is on the edge again. Fresh spate of violence grips the state and 5 districts. Tensions are high after a group of young men threatened self-immolation in Imphal. This comes after the arrest of key Maithi outfit leader Arambai Tangol. And meanwhile, 25 MLAs have met Manipur Governor Ajay Bhalla in light of the violence that erupted in 5 districts of the state over the last 24 hours. Total curfew imposed in Bishnupur as tensions remain high. And Pak fact-checked yet again. Satellite images once again fact-checked Pakistan's false claims of targeting Indian jets on Indian air bases in Adampur and Bhuj. Pak's doctored images from before Operation Sindoor once again blow the lid of Pakistan's extensive damage claims. Streaks shown as damage to the runway turn out to be soot build-up from engine exhaust. All right, after the wait of 44 long years, Indian astronaut Shubhanshu Shukla will return the tricolor in outer space, this time for the first time on the International Space Station. Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla is one of the 4 astronauts that will embark on Axiom Space's 4th human space flight from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Canaveral, Florida on Tuesday. The launch of the Falcon 9 rocket, the launch vehicle of the mission, is expected to be at around 5:52 p.m. Indian Standard Time on Tuesday, which will lead to a 28-hour journey to the ISS, docking the following day at around 10 p.m. IST. But that is not all. What makes this even more special is that Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla isn't just any other astronaut on the Axiom-4 mission, the mission pilot. Here is a glimpse of the build-up to this historic mission that is set to inspire 1.4 billion Indians.
3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition.
After 41 long years,
क्वाड्रन लीडर राकेश शर्मा, सारे राष्ट्र का ध्यान आपके तरफ है और हम सब आपको बधाई देते हैं। यह एक ऐतिहासिक कदम है। मेरी आशा है कि इससे हमारा देश अंतरिक्ष के प्रति जागरूक होगा और साथ ही हमारे युवकों को साहसिक कार्य करने की प्रेरणा मिलेगी।
Another Indian, second in history, is set to make one giant leap into space. His name is Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla. He is one of India's 4 astronauts named for the Gaganyaan mission. And in 2 days' time, Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla is set to create history by becoming the first Indian to dock at the International Space Station. But for Group Captain Shubhanshu, it's an opportunity of reliving a moment from history that inspired 1 billion Indians.
This journey that I'm on, it has been a long one for me, and it started out somewhere. I didn't know that this is the path it is going to finally take. I would say that I have been extremely fortunate and extremely lucky to have gotten the opportunities to first fly all my life, which was a dream job for me, and then have the opportunity to apply to astronaut corps, and now consequently be here. The way this worked out for me was that probably a week before we arrived at Axiom was the time I came to know that I will be going. I was extremely excited to be here. I was very, very happy because this was a possibility for me to actually fly to space. You don't know how to respond to such things.
The parents of Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla are extremely proud as their son is set to create history yet again for the nation.
बहुत अच्छा लगा था जब सुना था तो बहुत अच्छा लगा। तैयारी तो चली रही थी चाहे पिछले 5 सालों से, और जब सुनने को मिला कि हमारा बेटा जा रहा है तो बहुत बहुत ज़्यादा खुशी हुई हम लोगों को। हमारे लिए बहुत ही प्राउड मूवमेंट था।
मेहनत की है उसने और कायदे से जो है उसमें कहीं पर भी उसको दिक्कत नहीं होती। हर ट्रेनिंग का पार्ट उसने पूरी तरह अपना सफलतापूर्वक पूरा किया है उसने, और कहीं पर हम लोगों को जब बात करता है तो ऐसा लगता है कि बिल्कुल वो नॉर्मल लाइफ में चल रहा है, कोई दिक्कत उसको नहीं है और हमेशा पॉजिटिव बताता है। हम लोग भी पॉजिटिव सोचते हैं, कहीं पर दिक्कत नहीं आती, हम लोग पॉजिटिव ही सोचते हैं। अब उस शुभांशु का तो हमेशा ये रहता है कि हम लोगों को भी तभी बताता है जब उसका अगला स्टेप जो है पूरा हो जाता है। किसी में सिलेक्शन हो जाने के बाद ही हम लोगों को पता चलता है कि पहले नहीं बताता है। जब किसी फाइटर पायलट से टेस्ट पायलट में इनका हुआ तो उसके बाद पता चला, फिर टेस्ट पायलट से इसे एस्ट्रोनॉट में लिए गए तो उसके बाद जब इनका हो गया इसके बाद मुझे पता चला।
The countdown has begun. The Axiom-4 mission's Falcon 9 will launch on June the 10th at around 5:52 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Group Captain Shukla is expected to dock at the International Space Station at around 10 p.m. on June 11th. While the mission is expected to last 14 days, it will bring memories and inspiration not just for the group captain, but for all 1.4 billion Indians.
All right, former ISRO scientist Manish Purohit, he's someone who has worked on Mangalyaan and Chandrayaan both, joins us to understand what are the implications of this. Manish, first up, the implications for India, coming as it does after 41 years. It took really too long, but now after this, we immediately have Gaganyaan, when our astronauts or Gagannauts as they are called would be going into space on our own launch vehicle in our own spacecraft. So what is the significance of this particular space flight which is going to take Shubhanshu Shukla to International Space Station?
Yeah, actually, this particular flight aligns pretty well with the idea of Gaganyaan and Bharatiya Antariksh Station. See, when we are flying to the space, we have to get the first-hand experience of how the things happen. International Space Station will provide, this trip will provide Shubhanshu Shukla a first in-person experience of going to the space in a Crew Dragon, the crew module, docking, how that happens, and what are the basic intricacies that has to be taken care of. All that thing comes as a part of the training of an astronaut or a Gaganyatri for the upcoming missions. Once this done, India will be focusing on G1 flight of our Gaganyaan, that will be uncrewed flight, that is slated to happen later this year. And then 2027, early 2027, we are aiming for our first crewed flight when our Gaganyatris will be prepping up for all these extravaganza, but in our launch vehicle, in our crew module, and flying to the space from our own land. So it's a huge moment for us and huge moment for the space fraternity, because we are going to get the things from the in-person experience about the technology and about the basic process steps. The part of the training is there, but it's mostly virtual when you do that thing on the machines, in the lab, on the earth. But doing the same stuff in this space will give a better experience to our Shubhanshu Shukla.
Yeah, Manish, you're a science educator. Tell us what Shubhanshu Shukla would be doing up there in the International Space Station for the time that he's going to be there.
See, actually, this mission, Axiom-4, is going, the whole thing will be conducting around 60 experiments, and Shubhanshu Shukla will be carrying out around 7 experiments. Those experiments will be mostly aligned with the biology or the physiology and psychology of the space travelers. He will be doing some experiments to check about the metabolic supplements and the muscle regeneration in this space, the effect of the cognitive impact of the computer screen and how that microgravity impacts that. He will be looking into the basic intricacies of the edible microalgae, how the radiation impacts it, about the processing and the working of cyanobacteria.
Yeah.
So,
No, I mean, basically, youngsters who are watching this want to know the thrill part of being an astronaut, Manish, So what it takes to be an astronaut, and, when you are up there, apart from these nitty-gritties of the scientific experiments, how is life like?
See, actually, we are well trained and we are well acquainted to the gravity. So it's completely and totally different kind of a scenario when we go to the microgravity. That's why this whole stuff is so well structured, and the training part takes years long time. Semester-wise training happens for the space travelers. Why? Because getting there in the microgravity, acquainting with the microgravity, and then adjusting to it, that's the biggest kind of you can say the challenge that an astronaut or a Gaganyatri is going to face when up in space. And regarding the thrill, so for sure, this very moment, like Chandrayaan 3 has, created an uproar in the country about the space technology and space endeavors of ISRO.
Yeah.
This particular moment and follow-up of Gaganyaan will surely motivate the younger generation to look forward for a brighter future in this particular aspect, this particular area of space exploration. After all, India is aiming with our new space policy to capture this market of space, the economy of space that is going to be $1 trillion economy in coming future.
Yeah, that's going to be great. In fact, Shukla, apart from being a fighter pilot, is a test pilot. Now, the reason I underscore this is that to become a test pilot, you need to be the best of the best. And the best of the best has been picked up, as of course also the Gagannauts, the four of them who would be going to space on our own launch vehicle and spacecraft next year. He's also, Manish, going to be the pilot of the Dragon spacecraft. Now, just tell us, for the thrill of youngsters watching, you know, what piloting a Dragon spacecraft really feels like, means.
Okay, see, actually, if you talk about the Crew Dragon, the one that is taking Axiom-4 crew to the International Space Station, most of the operations are autonomous, completely governed by the onboard system with the sensors and all the stuff up there. But in the case of some contingencies or something going off nominal, then it has to be driven manually.
Yeah.
So that's the part of the Shukla's training when we are saying that he is going to pilot. Actually, if everything goes perfectly fine, then the system will do it for him. He has to simply keep an eye, monitor everything, and help the main lead, the Peggy Whitson, in the task with the help of the other two co-passengers. But the specific part of the training would have been if something goes off nominal, if you are not able to properly dock, then the manual operations has to be done, and that's where the role of Shubhanshu Shukla will come in if things go off nominal.
Yeah, absolutely, Manish. In fact, I'm reading some of the reports and they suggest that all the other crew members, part of the team, find Shubhanshu Shukla absolutely top-notch with wit and wisdom both. And they say that he's, in fact, he is wickedly smart and operationally savvy. I think that explains why he's been selected and is going to be there where he is. Thank you so much, Manish Purohit, for joining us with those details. Of course, friends, this is a story which we are going to bring in every detail, with every aspect covered over the next 3 days as it unfolds. Looking forward, as we always say, every Sunday. And on that note, moving on to our next one, second one, which is Prime Minister Modi's participation in G7 summit in Canada over the next weekend, ending intense speculation. Remember, there was some politics also on a potential visit. On Friday, Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, dialed Prime Minister Modi to extend the formal invitation for the 51st edition of the G7 summit, set to be held in Kanana Skis, as called in Alberta, Canada. This will be the Indian Prime Minister's first foreign visit since Operation Sindhu. Prime Minister Modi will not just be sitting across the table from some of India's close partner nations. It is also the first opportunity for the Prime Minister to personally brief the G7 leaders in person after India's ceasefire understanding a month ago. With Trump and Modi expected to meet face-to-face and a potential thaw in India-Canada relationship, here is a report on what to expect from G7 2025.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi is all set to embark on his first foreign visit after Operation Sindoor. The destination, Kananaskis, Alberta in Canada for the G7 summit. Since 2019, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been almost a permanent invitee to the G7 summit. From France in 2019, Germany in 2022, Japan in 2023, or Italy last year. Over the years, the Prime Minister has emerged as a central figure at the global economic table. Over the years, despite all the shifting world leaders, few in the G7 have remained constant. While Canadian Prime Minister is the most notable change this year, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and French President Emmanuel Macron are the only two constants in this grouping. Take a look at this year, for example. 5 of the 7 G7 leaders were either elected or appointed in the last 1 year. Despite this, with a little over a week left to the G7 summit and no calls from Canada, there was intense speculation on whether the Prime Minister would make the cut.
Well, viewers, just a week left for the G7 summit to take place, and as the all-party delegation leaders have come back to the nation after their 32-nation visit, there is almost silence at the South Block where I'm currently present at. Now, this is because Prime Minister Narendra Modi was not invited as a guest at the G7 summit, or this is something that we had known until Friday when the phone lines rang at the PMO. It was a call which was received from Ottawa, and it was an invitation for India to be present as a guest at the G7 summit. Now, what could be the sudden change? Was it a change in heart of the Canadian Prime Minister, or was it some sort of a pressure that was mounting from the G7 allies, or was it just a wisdom? Now, well, you cannot host a G7 summit, a summit that level, without the fastest growing nations on the table. Well, take a look what the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney had to say.
There are certain countries that should be at the table for those discussions, and in my capacity as G7 chair, in consultation with others, some others, make those determinations. India, the 5th largest economy in the world, effectively the most populous country in the world, central to a number of those supply chains, at the heart of a number of those supply chains, so it makes sense.
While India and Canada ties have been at a historic low since the G20 summit in India and Justin Trudeau's baseless allegations thereafter,
over the past number of weeks, Canadian security agencies have been actively pursuing credible allegations of a potential link between agents of the government of India and the killing of a Canadian citizen, Hardeep Singh Nijjar.
many speculated Prime Minister Modi may not get an invitation this year, given the short notice at which it was received.
Look, I think there was always a possibility that the host country could have decided not to invite, another country which was, in a sense, a regularly invited country and one of the most important economies in the world. So there was always that chance. But I think, look, let's face it, there could have been pressures from the other G6 countries to invite India and have India at the table. Alternatively, I think there are also telltale signs under the new Canadian administration of Prime Minister Mark Carney that they cannot continue with the kind of stupid and puerile policies of his very puerile and childish and immature predecessor, Justin Trudeau.
The invitation to the Prime Minister also found resonance amongst the Canadian opposition.
India has been at the last 6 G7 conferences. It's one of the biggest and fastest growing economies in the world. We need to sell our natural gas, our civilian nuclear power technology, and other resource projects to India. And we need to work with India and other countries on trade and security.
Top diplomats believe that the delay in invitation to the Prime Minister was perhaps a procedural delay with not much to read into it.
The Canadian Prime Minister, the new one, would have wanted to invite the Indian Prime Minister. So then either through his High Commissioner here or through our High Commissioner or acting High Commissioner in Canada, he sends a message. We are going to have the summit on such and such date. Would the Prime Minister of India be able to attend? This message would have come a long time ago, but then the Prime Minister wasn't able to confirm. Then we had this issue with Pakistan. We were not sure where it was going to take us. So the Prime Minister did not respond. He did not say yes or no. He waited till the situation became clearer, till his own program could be formed, and then he said, yes, I'm attending. The one thing that he has said, I look forward to meeting my Canadian counterpart.
However, questions continue to remain on whether this diplomatic outreach will be successful to thaw the frigid relationship between India and Canada, with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police already gearing up for Khalistani demonstrations that could target the visit.
We're monitoring those groups that have indicated a desire to protest. We are certainly mindful that the G7 will likely attract people who they have something they want to say around the G7 or individual leaders attending the G7. Our goal is to ensure any protest is lawful, peaceful, and safe. And a collaborative effort to work with protest organizers is important to doing that. How many folks are intending to show up is I think something that we will continue to see evolving between now and the summit.
We have a major issue with Canada. Canada needs to address that issue of giving, treating terrorists and transnational criminal gangs with kid gloves. People who call for murder, people who call for mayhem, people who call for massacres, who celebrate massacres, to allow them to parade on the streets of Canada is not something which is expected out of what is, after all, a friendly country. So I think India also has problems. Both sides are trying to reset their relationship. And to that extent, I would imagine that this invitation is par for the course.
With the Prime Minister's visit now confirmed, all eyes will be now on how he will lead the talks with the G7 leaders for the first time since Operation Sindoor.
And our Prime Minister goes for the G7 meeting. He will be having conversations, obviously, with all the world leaders present there, and will have an occasion to speak about why we did what we had to do, and brief them on what Pakistan has been doing, and send a very stern message that India will impose costs on Pakistan.
The Prime Minister's visit will also give India a global stage to further strengthen the dialogue with European allies on Operation Sindoor. Then emerges the big variable in the entire equation: US President Donald Trump.
Now, the meeting with President Trump will be very important because President Trump has taken a line which is not helpful to us at all. He is boosting Pakistan, he's equating India and Pakistan, he's talking about mediation in the Kashmir issue, he sidetracked the entire issue of terrorism inflicted by Pakistan on us, and the fact that it is what happened at Pahalgam which triggered India's reaction. So Trump will have to be briefed properly, and hopefully he will see things more clearly, but you can never count on President Trump because he's a bit of a loose cannon.
And Trump is not just going to be challenging for India, but even for the other G7 nations.
Die wir uns zweimal wiedersehen, einmal auf dem G7-Gipfel in 2 Wochen in Kanada, dann auf dem direkt danach stattfindenden NATO-Gipfel in Den Haag. Also wir werden jetzt in kurzer Abfolge mehrere Gelegenheiten haben, um zu sprechen. Wir haben heute ein Fundament gelegt für sehr gute persönliche, aber auch politisch zielführende Gespräche.
When nations get along, the answer is no. The American President Donald Trump has made it clear that he prefers bilateral relationships to multilateral partnerships. He doesn't like the G7. He doesn't like Canada. He doesn't like Britain. He's not very friendly with the French. He has issues with Germany. He has problems with everybody in the G7. And if he decides to leave, G7 is dead. It's being kept alive like NATO is by the American president. So, do I see G7 playing any kind of a role? Oh, they'll issue a great communique after the Canada meeting. They'll have a good dinner, they'll drink lots of wine, and then everybody will go to sleep. Nobody will read the communique, not even the G7 nations themselves.
But with the mediation row escalating between India and the US,
just days ago, my administration successfully brokered a historic ceasefire to stop the escalating violence between India and Pakistan. And I used trade to a large extent to do it. I said, fellas, come on, let's make a deal. Let's do some trading. Let's not trade nuclear missiles. Let's trade the things that you make so beautifully.
how will the Modi-Trump bilateral turn out at G7?
Trump is very unpredictable, and over the last 11 years, I have learned that never predict anything of what Mr. Modi might pull off. So I think this is a mission impossible. But to the extent that we get a chance, both countries get a chance, and Mr. Modi can have a direct one-on-one with Donald Trump. And then we'll have to see whether Donald Trump puts his family and his associates' business interests over his national interests, which are better served by dealing with India, or he tries to balance the two. And I think a lot of what is likely to happen over the next couple of years with the United States will hinge on that particular question.
The stakes are high across the board. For the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, the G7 is the first big opportunity to set pace for his diplomacy. Taking over from Italy as the G7 president is bound to be a tall order.
La presidenza canadese sta costruendo molto sul lavoro fatto dalla presidenza italiana, quindi c'è continuità su alcune materie per noi molto importanti, da sempre sulla stessa lunghezza d'onda. Penso alla questione ucraina, sulla quale condividiamo gli sforzi per una pace giusta e duratura, e anche il Medio Oriente, quindi il tentativo di costruire per dare alla regione una prospettiva di stabilità e quindi di crescita.
As you just said, we are building on the leadership of Italy in the G7 at Puglia. We're building on the Mattei plan. In fact, all the issues that you tabled last year have proven to be the central issues that the world faces. And truly, with the partnership between Italy, your leadership, our partnership, we can bring the G7 to a new level where we build on our values and we deliver prosperity for our citizens.
Issues of Ukraine and Israel are expected to remain at the core of many discussions.
If Russia turns the Istanbul meeting into an empty talk, there must be a new level of pressure, new sanctions, and not just from Europe. We need to work on joint sanctions at the G7 level, including with the United States and with everyone in the world who wants peace. It's very, very important that each of our partners supports this exact approach.
Amidst all this, 1.4 billion eyes will be closely watching Prime Minister Modi's every move at the G7 summit. While the organization may not in itself be a major force of change, the optics will be significant nonetheless.
G7 was created in a moment of crisis. It is irrelevant in the global crisis that we are seeing today. It has no relevance. I think it's a dying institution. But India will continue to raise its voice as we represent the global South. Narendra Modi doesn't go as the Prime Minister of India. He goes as the collective voice of the global South, which has over 120 countries.
Joining me, Ambassador Anil Trigunath, a veteran diplomat and someone who's regular with the foreign policy comments. Very good evening, sir, and welcome. And my first question to you. Prime Minister Modi is all set to participate in the G7 summit in Canada. What this means, what this invite really means in the light of the kind of relationship that we have had with Canada of late?
Well, thank you very much, Abhishek. As you are aware that India has been really a permanent fixture of the G7+1 outreach in the last 7 summits. And India's contribution to the G7 has been very well acknowledged by all the world leaders, and including the Prime Minister Carney of Canada, who has recently been elected. We have had a problem with Canada, and the relationship really hit its lowest during Justin Trudeau's time, because they continue to not acknowledge the problems that were dogging our relationship. That was the terrorism, extremism coming out of Canada. Instead, they not only tried to shield, but tried to accuse India.
Yeah.
And so that's why it has reached where it had. But at the end of the day, in the international discourse, and I would say the Canadian Prime Minister himself has said that without India, their outreach to the global South and the developing countries cannot fructify.
Yeah.
So I think that
All right, moving on for now. For the first time in over a century, and certainly the first time since independence, Indian government is all set to conduct caste census in conjunction to the biggest digital exercise experienced on planet Earth, head count of India. But an issue on which the BJP was quite antithetical up until a couple of months ago. What changed for the ruling party that it saw a surprise cabinet approval after the first CCPA meet in over 5 years? So a rapid nod by the India chief ministers a couple of weeks ago, and even a formal announcement on June 4th. Is caste census actually going to be a game changer for governance, as some are led to believe, or is it going to further poison the divide on caste fault lines? We look at this in this edition of Looking Forward, because the exercise is going to start soon, the prep for it, and announcement that the dates are going to be in 26, 27, 28 was made this week. Here's a report.
Under the leadership of our Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, the Cabinet Committee of Political Affairs has decided today, that is 30th April 2025, that caste enumeration should be included in the forthcoming census. This demonstrates that a government is committed to the values and interests of a society and country.
With this announcement, the Modi government made its intentions clear. It would take the caste census bull by the horns and take the battle right into the opposition camp. Or more specifically, the Rahul Gandhi camp.
मुझे मालूम था कि जिस दिन हमने थोड़ा सा दबाव डाल दिया उस दिन एकदम सरेंडर कर जाएंगे। मगर आप गलतफहमी में मत रहिए। ये जाति जनगणना जो करा रहे ना, ये असली जाति जनगणना नहीं कराएंगे, कभी नहीं कराएंगे। क्योंकि जिस दिन इन्होंने जाति जनगणना, असली जाति जनगणना कर लिया, उस दिन इनकी राजनीति समाप्त हो जाएगी, खत्म हो जाएगी।
The BJP had deterred on the issue, giving an impression that it had ceded control over the caste census narrative to the Gandhi scion.
The credit for pushing caste census goes solely to the Congress party, and especially Rahul Gandhi. Rahul championed the demand for caste census during the 2024 elections. It is so obvious that Narendra Bhai Modi succumbed to Rahul's demand as an attempt to neutralize the opposition's advantage, because he realized that this is surely going to bolster Congress party's appeal among marginalized groups, especially in states like Bihar and Uttar Pradesh.
But did Rahul Gandhi really psych out the BJP as suggested?
People like Rahul Gandhi think that enumerating caste will change the politics of India, as if we never knew the caste percentages in India. Have we not seen those detailed percentages in each election, in each TV channel, even to the assembly level, to the Lok Sabha level? So I think by far and large, even researchers, sociologists, politicians, surveyors, they have a sense of, now with the caste census, maybe finally there will be a stamp on the numbers. So I doubt anything drastically change.
Then there is this view that Rahul played the caste card in census out of desperation. Listen to Caste Tyagi, JDU leader and himself a veteran of social justice politics in the Hindi heartland.
Rahul Gandhi is propagating and advocating nowadays. I am on record on saying to you, when the Mandal Commission recommendations were implemented on 7 August 1990, his father Rajiv Gandhi, he was totally opposed to the reservation on the caste line. He made 1.5 hour speech in the parliament opposing the recommendations of the Mandal Commission. Now they are advocating for caste census, for jiski jitni sankhya bari, uski itni hissedari sort of things, and he is accusing the India government of not implementing the caste census.
What of the possible dangerous consequences? Isn't caste supposed to be divisive? Even Congress-leaning Pankaj Sharma agrees.
Caste has long been a central factor in Indian elections, with parties maintaining internal caste-wise data to strategize selection. More accurate data will enable political parties to adopt more aggressive strategies. So yes, caste census has some very grave inbuilt minus aspects also. There are chances of deepening social fault lines, and as parties will exploit caste data more viciously and absolutely for electoral gains, it can lead to much more social polarization also. That is inevitable.
This is the very reason perhaps that the Modi government was seen pulling its feet.
See, why BJP was probably opposing in some bits the caste census? Because of the negative use of it by many political parties, right? If you want people to vote only on the identity, not on the water they're getting, the gas they're getting, the streets they're getting, the airports they're getting, the controlled inflation they're getting, the gas stuff they're getting, not on that. Rahul Gandhi okay, I only want you to vote your identity.
Now projecting itself as its champion, the Congress party dragged its feet in 2011. After carrying out a caste survey as part of the larger census, it never released the data, while in part till 2014. Obviously, Rahul Gandhi knows the pitfalls.
India is doing amazing things. It's changing Chandrayaan. ISRO is developing amazing space satellites. DRDO is doing amazing work. What India did in war against Pakistan, we have seen how India is working on the international diplomacy. Indian unicorns are going big. But among all of this, Rahul Gandhi's only agenda is what's your caste, right? Now with adding the caste enumeration in the census, in the upcoming census, BJP government, Modi government has taken that steam off. That the only single agenda of Rahul Gandhi off his table.
Goes without saying that there are positive implications as well. For those who believe that the road to social justice goes through caste census.
Those who are saying that it is the division in the Indian caste society, they are hypocrites and they are the persons responsible for the division in the Hindu society. And the Hindu society is divided on the caste line since 3,000 years. Therefore, the weaker section, they are demanding their due in the system of the education and the job, which is not wrong.
While governance is the long-term aspect on which upcoming census would have impact, the immediate one would be on politics and elections.
The caste census is not just a data gathering exercise. It brings visibility to caste groups that have been underrepresented in policy making. And as this data becomes public, this will have a major impact on political parties in terms of candidate selection, welfare policies, and alliance strategies. The past 11 years, BJP has yielded immense success in their Hindutva ideology, but this may get challenged as new caste-based narratives emerge, fragmenting traditional vote bank.
But irrespective of the political divide, the fact is that census is happening and caste would get counted, and people on the ground are welcoming it. As the nation awaits its first caste census since independence, let's hope the political parties focus on the positives and positives alone. Well, joining me for a brief conversation, Binay Singh, director of the Shama Prasad Mukherjee Foundation, Research Foundation. It's a right-leaning think tank associated with the BJP. Binay, quick question. Is it possible that the political parties, cutting across the divide, would look only at the positives of caste census in terms of its impact on governance, or you think it's going to be downhill?
The politics of this country has changed and changed a lot. And it has not changed because of Rahul Gandhi or Congress. It has changed despite Rahul Gandhi and his party Congress. And you know, caste for Congress party is same as caste for Naxalites. They use caste as a fault line to create division in the society, to create fault lines. They use caste for caste conflict. While BJP, if they talk about caste census, they want to cement the fault lines. They want to cement the relationships. And it is about caste welfare, not about caste conflict.
Right.
And let me remind you, Abhishek, Britishers used caste census, not just caste census, the gazetteers, the linguistic survey, to map India on geocultural aspect. And they use this mapping for the divide and rule policy. But this policy was taught by the Congress party till date.
Binay, I'm running out of time, but a quick question before I let you go. The policy implications, governance, good governance implications. Since BJP is in power, obviously you would be the beneficiary of this data and reflecting that in terms of your governance initiatives.
Abhishek, the last man in the line, and you can say the bottom of the pyramid, they are going to get benefited once we are able to map India on this caste census basis. Okay. And again, I'll remind you that Antyodaya, long before BJP was named BJP, it was Jansangh. Till then, our founding fathers, Pandit Deendayal Upadhyay, he gave the idea of Antyodaya. And that is, targeting the welfare of the last man in the line.
Right.
And this caste census is going to help that.
All right. Thank you so much. Binay, I've run out of time, so not a longer conversation possible, but that gives some perspective from the side of the BJP. Thank you so much. Moving on, friends. In a groundbreaking development in India's telecommunication landscape, Elon Musk's Starlink has received approval to launch its satellite internet services in the country, promising high-speed connectivity to the remotest parts and corners. From partnerships with telecom giants to national security concerns, we dive into what it means for India's digital future, and then on a short conversation.
India is part of the world networks. Well, I was invited to India, and I have a lot of Indian friends where I live in South Africa, and when I was invited to India, I said yes, I would love to come to see what is happening here. Well, India, has so many possibilities. I mean, it either comes from India or it goes into India.
Imagine an India where every village, every town and every city has access to high-speed internet. A country where education, healthcare and economic opportunities are no longer limited by geographical boundaries. This will be the future of India, powered by Starlink's satellite internet services. In a significant development for India's telecommunications sector, Elon Musk's Starlink has received the green signal to launch its satellite internet services in the country. This move is expected to revolutionize internet connectivity, especially in village and remote areas. Although the final license is still pending, this approval is a crucial step forward. Starlink will now be able to prepare for the launch of its services, promising high-speed internet to millions of Indians. Union Minister of Communications Jyotiraditya Scindia on 5th June said that Starlink satellite connectivity will be like another flower in the bouquet of telecommunications.
लिंक देखिए सैटेलाइट की जो कनेक्टिविटी है वो फूल के गुलदस्ते की तरह टेलीकॉम की गुलदस्ते में एक नया फूल है। पुराने ज़माने में केवल वो फिक्स्ड लाइन होती थी, वो भी घुमाना पड़ता था हम लोगों को। आज मोबाइल कनेक्टिविटी हो गई है, उसी के साथ ब्रॉडबैंड कनेक्टिविटी भी आ गई है, ऑप्टिकल फाइबर की कनेक्टिविटी भी आ गई है और उसी के साथ सैटेलाइट कनेक्टिविटी भी बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है।
The company's satellite internet service promises a upload speed of 5 to 20 Mbps and download rates of 25 to 220 Mbps with latency between 25 to 50 milliseconds. This makes it ideal for video calls, streaming and online gaming. Starlink's initial offerings in India could offer up to 700 Mbps internet speed, priced between 840 rupees to 7,000 rupees. Starlink has partnered with two of India's leading telecom companies, Reliance Jio and Bharti Airtel. These partnerships will enable Starlink to leverage the company's extensive market reach and expertise. Jio and Airtel will work with Starlink to offer its services, making high-speed internet accessible to a wider audience. However, the one question that arises is, can Starlink coexist with Jio and OneWeb, or will it take over the complete market? Strategic affairs analysts say that eventually many of the Indian companies in future will have their own constellations of satellites that will be launched.
I think right now Airtel and Jio have some kind of a alliance with Starlink for their local rollout of the facilities in India. You had initially foreign investors coming in, foreign players coming in, but eventually the Indian players understood the game rolled out better services because they understand the market better, and eventually they became the leaders. So I'm very much optimistic that eventually this sector would also have major dominance by Indian players, and a certain amount of technology coming in because of foreign players is also welcome, subject to regulation.
However, Starlink won't be the only player in the satellite internet market. Bharti Airtel is also gearing up to launch its satellite internet services with 2 base stations already constructed in Gujarat and Tamil Nadu. Airtel's focus on affordability could give it a competitive edge over Starlink, which has been criticized for its relatively high pricing in other markets. Vimal Waklu, former chairman and managing director of Telecommunications Consultants India Limited, says that Starlink's entry will benefit several Indian key players and that the coexistence will be used for mutual benefits.
Starlink can coexist with Jio and OneWeb. It will ensure that we move from a condition of duopoly to a proper fair competition, which will be good for the consumers. Let's not assume anything. Let's assume that it's going to work within this particular framework.
On the positive side, satellite internet will help bridge the digital divide in remote areas where laying fiber cables is challenging. It will also aim to provide connectivity in remote areas, dense forested areas, and even the borders. However, Starlink's independent operation and inscription capabilities raise concerns about national security, particularly in sensitive regions, as this could enable unregulated communication and evade surveillance. According to strategic affairs analyst, entry of Starlink will certainly have security concerns, but they have been taken care of as the license was applied in 2022 and got the clearance in 2025.
Well, every new opportunity comes with a certain amount of security concerns, and that's why you put regulation in place. But the era of satellite-based internet or telecommunication has come, so you cannot stop it beyond a point. And therefore, I think in a way, the entry of Starlink will only ensure that the pace of improvement or pace of rollout of similar satellite-based internet and telecommunication facilities.
Even as the Prime Minister has time and again pushed for Make in India products,
तत्काल भारत की इकोनॉमी को 4 नंबर से 3 नंबर पर ले जाने के लिए अब हम कोई विदेशी चीज का उपयोग नहीं करेंगे। देश सशक्त होना चाहिए, देश समर्थ होना चाहिए, देश का नागरिक सामर्थ्यवान होना चाहिए, और इसके लिए हमने वोकल फॉर लोकल, 1 डिस्ट्रिक्ट 1 प्रोडक्ट, मैं मेरे जो आपके पास है फेंक देने के लिए मैं नहीं कह रहा हूं, लेकिन आप नया नहीं लेंगे।
Questions are being raised if Starlink's introduction will make India rely on a foreign-operated system for critical communications and could expose India to potential manipulation or data breaches, particularly in the event of geopolitical conflicts. On this, the former chairman and managing director of Telecommunications Consultants India Limited said that Starlink has no option but to comply with all the terms and conditions of operations in India.
Well, it's good news for Indian telecom and broadcasting sectors. It will complement the BharatNet project in a big way, making the remote and inaccessible areas too commercially viable. It will help in extending benefits of the Digital India program to the hinterland, and the citizens living in those areas will benefit who have been deprived so far of these services.
As Starlink prepares to launch its services in India, the country is on the cusp of new era in telecommunications. With its promise of high-speed internet and partnerships with leading telecom companies, Starlink is poised to make a significant impact.